I spoke before at the beginning of our Torah reading that our Parshat today talks about this idea that if you follow my mitzvot, im behukotai telchu, if you follow my commandments, my laws, then God says good things are going to happen. There'll be rain in the proper time. Your fruits, your gardens, your grains, your growing things. See, I'm clearly not a farming person. But those types of things, right, that will go well. Your harvest will go well. You'll have food. You'll have health. You'll have wealth. You'll have safety and security. But if you don't obey my commandments, God says bad things are going to happen. There'll be hunger. There'll be poverty. There'll be illness. And there'll be enemies who will rise up and conquer you. It's a tough commandment, or a tough idea. One of the oldest, as I said before, theological questions. Why do bad things happen to good people? And the reverse of that. Why are there bad people who have good things happen to them? People who are truly wicked, who seem to be rewarded by the universe, by God, by karma, by whatever it is you believe in. There are times when it seems that the universe has no order to it. Illness, disease, it affects everyone. The good and the bad, the young and the old. Who will be wealthy, who won't be. So much of it seems to be total chaos. So what are we to take of our Torah reading this week? Im behukotai telchu. If you observe my commandments, good things will happen. If you don't, bad things will. How are we to understand that? What I think of as gumball theology. What happens in the second paragraph in the Ve'ahavta. It's a similar, but it's a section from Devarim, Deuteronomy, another book in the Torah. It says similarly, though, if you do what I say, you'll be rewarded. The world doesn't work in those ways. So the question is then, why observe the mitzvot? Why observe the commandments? And the answer, I think, is interesting. But it's not the answer I'm going to share with you today, because the answer to that question is, I think, a unique one that each person can decide for themselves. There are lots of different ways of thinking about the commandments and what the reason for them is, or are. But there's another step, a communal one, that I want to think about this morning. When you look at other faiths, there's similarities and distinctions from Judaism. But one of the things I think is most unique about Judaism is in any other faith, when you take someone who's really devout, who wants to dedicate their lives to their tradition, in almost every other faith it involves some form of seclusion. You can go be a Sufi mystic at the top of a mountain. You can be a monk in a cave meditating all day long. You can go away to a convent or an order, and you can sit in silence all day eating simple meals, not talking, locking yourself away to contemplate God. But Judaism isn't a faith of individuality. Judaism is a faith of community. Our tradition, the more you get into it, the more extreme you want to live your life according to the laws, the more detailed you want to focus on the rituals, the more you have to live in community. And we live in a world today where we're so isolated so often in modernity. We're more connected by technology than ever before, but so often our social circles are so limited and few. We live in a society where loneliness is an epidemic. Yet our tradition here is offering us the answer. So if you look at that initial verse, if you follow my commandments, good things will happen to you. If you don't, bad things will. It's an oversimplification the way I'm saying it. But I think our tradition offers us a way of looking at it that isn't so literal. But if you live a Jewish life, if you live a life of community, of connection, it's not that bad things will never happen to you. Bad things happen to everyone. The universe is chaotic. I can't believe in a God who chooses who gets cancer or who gets hit by a drunk driver. Because if God chose that, we've seen the results. But what God and Judaism offer us is, God forbid, when something bad happens to you. The truth is, in every life, if you live long enough, something bad is going to happen. But our tradition offers us that when that happens, if you live a Jewish life, a life of community, a life of connection, a life of family, if you're involved and active and help others, when something happens to you, there will be people who will pick you back up. There will be people who are there to help you. The bad won't be so bad because you'll have that support system. I think that's what our tradition and the lesson from this Parsha that I want us to think about this Shabbat. This year, more than ever, we've seen that. This year, more than ever, we've had to ask ourselves theological questions of how can God let this happen? Since October 7th, we're supposed to be dancing and celebrating in synagogues, and Hamas's terrorist attack on women, children, the elderly, civilians. How the world responded with just a rise in hatred and anti-Semitism. More than ever, we've seen this year that we need each other. We need Jewish community. We need institutions like synagogues, like Jewish community centers, like schools. We need places where we can connect to each other, where we can support each other. So we learned this year that too often, others won't be there to support us. And so this Shabbat, I invite you to think about the opening line of our Parsha. Im Behukotai telchu, if you observe my mitzvot. Not that you have to observe every commandment. Not that I'm asking you to change your life and start leading the strictest, most orthodox lifestyle with every detail and minutia of the law. But I invite you to ask yourself, the essence of Judaism is community. How can you walk more in that? How can you walk deeper into community, into connection? How can you walk deeper supporting others? And someday, it's not that bad things won't happen, but when they do, there'll be someone there with us to share, to lift us up, and to help us. Shabbat Shalom.